Morning. It's my daily scream into the void. I guess mostly it's cathartic to put my thoughts out into the ether, and then I guess I can pretend like I tried. Quesadilla breakfast. Um, this whole data center thing in Utah is wild. I mean, if I watched a guy who lives there in Box Elder County do a little breakdown of it. I was like, it's like 40,000 acres. I mean, that's a lot. Uh, my my aunt and uncle have a farm up in Idaho, and I don't think their farm is 10,000 acres. Their entire farm is not 10,000 acres. So like, they're like, yeah, it's several times the size of like a major city in Utah. It's like that is. I mean, I know we've got some open space, but that is gigantic. That's a gigantic cluster of things. Also, where are they going to get the hardware? Last time I checked, there's a pretty big shortage. So, where are you going to find all that hardware to build such a monstrosity? I mean, I'm sure it's going to come on in phases over time, but because you're clearly not going to build a single building that's 40,000 acres. I mean, I would hope you wouldn't. That would seem like a bad idea. But the amount of natural gas and water and the stuff that's going to go into powering that. It's probably why they also are trying to put a nuclear power plant in Brigham City. Might also be why they've been talking about like maybe there doesn't need to be so many people in Utah. They're trying to drive a bunch of people out. Wouldn't that be interesting? They're trying to implode the population of the northern end of the state. I guess the other question though is, like, what if this data center causes costs to your ski industry? Is it worth it? I'm not saying it is or isn't. I love skiing, so I would say no. You're going to ruin a lot of things about the state of Utah, but I mean, what do I know? I also, I've been forgetting to do it a little bit. We can't forget that the Epstein files still need to come out. Also, the JFK, MLK, RFK, like all those assassination files. And that Trump keeps saying he's going to release the UFO information, which I think is a bit of a I don't know he knows fully how much is there, but like we got to hold those promises. Like, you know, let's not let these politicians off the hook. Well, I guess so. Thinking about it, all right. So this data center seems like it's going to happen with or without the will of the people. So then we need a solution for the problem that it's going to create. Is desalinization. Honestly, though, I don't think you need to do desalinization to bring water to Utah. I think you just bring the salt water and let it evaporate. Also, couldn't the data center kind of become the desalinization plant where you just, I mean, you're just dumping salt water into the Great Salt Lake, and then you just pipe salt water into it and let it evaporate and steam it, and then let it, capture what's left out of the steam, and maybe use like a little steam turbine, like Tesla's steam turbine plate system, generate some power off of it, and then use that, turning that, heat into kinetic movement. And then that should also be part of the cooling process. And then just slowly, get some ponds that you can drop that water back into once it's down to certain temperatures. And maybe, but if you can bring in enough water on a constant basis, maybe you could bring enough water from the ocean to offset the added heat and help, manually replenish the water supplies of Utah to safe levels. Maybe that's the answer. Because it seems like they're going to get their way no matter what. So now we're going to have to figure out how to minimize its consequences. Because if you were bringing in water, essentially cloud seeding off of this data center, maybe, yeah, maybe you could dramatically change, bring the water levels back up. Ah. All right. Maybe that's the answer. Because I hear a lot of concern, but I don't hear a lot of solutions to the problem. But maybe piping. Because I was talking to a buddy, and like from the San Francisco Bay, like how far inland that comes from the ocean to like bring it up and over, it's not that far. I mean, it is far, but it's not like. And I had a whole hydrology conversation one time with somebody about the pumps and the stations you would need to pump water from the ocean up and over. But it's not the power requirement you think, because basically once you're pulling water up and it hits the top of the mountain range, is it hydrostatic pressure? I'm not a hydrologist, but it's like if you've ever used a siphon tube as a kid, where you can, like, farmers use this all the time. You have like a pipe with a hoop in it or a bend in it, and you can just kind of, you dunk it in the water and let it come out, and it pushes water in, and then the water just pulls the other water out for you. And so it's a great way to do like watering without any power, and it's an old school watering system. So yeah, it's entirely possible that could be an option, right? Like, use pumps to get to the top, but then once it's the water's running down the other side, it kind of just does its thing, kind of pulls the other water with it. You can actually open ditch it at that point, just run it straight into this data center. Maybe that's an option. Maybe there's a happy medium here on like forcing them to just constantly pump water, and like from an outside source that's just gonna cause steam. It's an idea. I don't know that it's a good idea, but it's an idea. Also, we've hit the 60-day mark, and there's no war power. So Congress has completely abdicated its responsibility, its constitutionally dictated power to constrain the president. You could already say this was an illegal military action, but now it definitely is, because what's the Constitution? Like, this is something that I always get annoyed by, is people are like, oh, that's not most of the time when people say something's not constitutional, it's just they don't agree with it. They don't actually know what's in the Constitution or how it may or may not be constitutional. Or jackwagons who are like, oh, I'm a constitutional originalist. I'm like, and then you ask them a question like, well, how would they know that? And I was like, you can't tell. That drives me crazy. People are like, the original interpretation of the Constitution, and it's like, well, you would have to go, it's not just the Constitution you read. You have to go read the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers and some other writings at the time to understand how a lot of the founding fathers were thinking about a lot of these topics. And from that, you can extrapolate how they might interpret today's information. So whenever it's like, well, that's not what the Constitution says, I'm an originalist. I'm like, that is a dumb argument, especially like when I was studying political science. Like, you'd be like, no, it's your interpretation of what the originalists was like. If I'm going to use the framework of like, how would Thomas Jefferson think about this, or how would Adams think about this, or Benjamin Franklin, like, I can go read their writings and kind of how they approached different things, kind of get where they would come out on why they did some things and how they thought about it. And I mean, they were deeply flawed people for the most part, many of them. I mean, the more and more I keep hearing about him, Benjamin Franklin, like, kind of a dirtbag, like on a personal level, just like kind of an absolute monster. constantly going after people's wives and doing all sorts, like, just brilliant. An inventor, kind of a jack of all trades, like, interesting guy, but kind of a dirtbag. I don't think that changes his accomplishments. I think it just holds in frame, like, he definitely was not a perfect person. Man, 40,000 acres. That's so massive. I did a video, a little short on uh, the housing market that I haven't put out yet. Man, I am just getting stuck and passed by everybody. This is quite annoying. Anyway, man, there's so many wild things going on, and then it's my coworker says it to me like every day. Nothing ever happens o'clock, and I understand that sentiment, except the 3 or 4 like cataclysmic events that have happened during my lifetime. The I mean, the .com thing, the rise of the internet, the rise of the smartphone, right? Like the 2008 crash, 9/11, the many years in Iraq and Afghanistan. Um, like, yeah, nothing ever happens, but a lot has happened, right? Like, we have seen a lot happen. I wonder. I wonder. Oh, I don't know what they were doing. The I feel the fever pitch, the concern, the problems that are happening. Like, the desperation of people, and then the rise of these just billionaires who just kind of they're leeches on society. Honestly, they don't actually provide the thing that they say they provide. Like, Elon Musk has some ideas that he like latches onto, and he's good at like getting people to execute those ideas. And he's technical enough to like understand and like hold some people's feet in the fire. But a lot of it's the brilliant people around him that have bought in. But like, should he be a trillionaire? No, definitely not. especially as he's like trying to repopulate the earth by himself. That's, I mean, the ego should feel like, yes, I'm so smart that I should have all the children. Like, I don't know, dude. I feel like I don't know that you're the genetic specimen that I feel like should be populating the earth. But you know, what do I know? I'm just some jackwagon shouting his thoughts into the internet, like some sort of e-journal. So like one day somebody can look back and know that I tried to say things, not to anybody, because you know I'm just the weird alien guy who's a problematic, and I don't do anything, and I don't support things, and I don't check on things. I'm not worthy of promotion or actual consideration. I have good ideas, but I myself am not useful. And I am useful, but I am not necessary. Hmm. Now I'm just quiet, just chomping on stuff, just thinking. Here, let's do this. There's something to look at. Better than my ugly mug. Oh. Hmm. Look at that pretty drive. Oh, windshield's got problems. I was just thinking, how do you deal with all the heat from an like? What's a better way to do that? Like, we know silicon, like our current circuit boards aren't great at getting rid of heat. So how do you fix that? How do you fix that problem? Oh man, I'm stuck behind a gravel truck. And I'm doing the naughty thing that drives me crazy. I'm passing him on the right, and I shouldn't. Steamroller. Wow, I guess I should ask some questions about all this construction that's being done here in the canyon. So up here, there's the canyon's been kind of closed off. Let's see if we can reestablish some okay focus here. They've been building, so up here across this ridge, you can kind of see some lights, like where there's a power line coming across. Or you can see there's like a pipeline or something up there on the mountain, a canal or something. And they've been building like a road up there, like along the ridge line. So I guess the question could be like, why have they been doing that? And is the reason something other than what we've thought this whole time? See, like all this like concrete and construction equipment coming up here, like you'll see this construction. Left lane is closed, but yeah, so you'll see it. I guess you see it better the other way. So they're like working on the bridge up here, but then there's also like this whole like, I can see it on the back up here on the left. There's like this road like way up there. See, it's a little road thing right here that goes back up. I'm like, I don't know where that goes or why. It tries to ride everybody. Now we're gonna slow down. Oh, back to being blinded. Anyway, haven't checked any news this morning, but ceasefire expired. Does the U.S. just walk away? Let's say we won and pretend like we won and let oil start flowing. And of course, I'm sure Israel has a way to get us dragged back in because, they apparently have blackmail on Donald Trump, which this all feels like. Do you think Donald Trump would just get annoyed with Israel and just like, I don't know, like lash out at them? Or Biden. Like we elected like a living potato. And I thought he would go down as the most feckless and useless as the administration just kind of ran itself. Beautiful homes here in Manaway. Oops. Anyway, as this is just kind of my thoughts, things flowing about, I apologize for the silence. But hey, at least when the sun's not shining directly into my dirty windshield, it's a pretty view. I wonder if the natural gas pipeline they're talking about, the developer went bankrupt on, is this one. So right here on the right, there's this giant pipeline that they built years ago. I wonder if it sits on that one. Because it goes someplace. really just want that UFO information. Let's get something like decent to come out. Saw that one of the guys from does a lot of the prop building for Whistling Diesel built a Tesla powered jet boat. I wonder, like, if you did like a ski wakeboard boat that was like that, like Tesla powered, like direct motor with batteries, and then a little diesel generator or generators in parallel to like give you a little bit more oomph. I wonder how well that would run and for how long. Like, I wonder if that would be a really good solution for. Need to find a place to build a barn dominium. See if that's cheaper than buying one of these crap houses now. Maybe that's the answer. All right, well, I'm not talking very much. I don't have much to say. Pretty drive is the prettiest part of the drive is just about over. So once I get out of the canyon here, I'll probably stop my stream here. I'm sure I'll have some random thing to add later today. Oh, we're gonna get blinded by the sun. Dang it. I really do try to keep my windshield clean. But this is something that's made me realize, like, oh, how hard it is to actually. I mean, if the camera, I guess, was closer, I wonder if that would flip that way. Thoughts. Thoughts on thoughts on thoughts. I wonder. Huh. Never thought about doing it that way. Lifting it up closer to the windshield. Here we go, coming around. This also works as a dash cam for me a little bit, you know. Other than you can't see a lot of stuff, but people do dumb things. I guess the most useful thing that could happen is UDOT watches my stream and flags people. Or me, I guess, for bad driving. I really try hard not to be a bad driver. I really try hard not to speed or cause problems. I really need an electric, or like a gas electric hybrid, not like a Prius, but like the new Ford F-150 and the Dodge Charge, where they're electric and they have a generator on them. Or a Tesla. I don't know if I want a Tesla. Anyway, there's your drive. There's the pretty view. Woo! Talk to you later.